So the way graphite transfer works is we can draw onto the screen using very simple drawing materials, such as pencils. What I've done here is I've just popped in an image underneath, and I can see him through the screen. Okay, now I've popped over a sheet of acetate or true grain over the top of it, which you can use as a registration sheet, but at the moment we're really just using this as a way of sort of protecting our original image, because as we draw through the screen, graphite will sort of transfer or will pass through. So we want to stop it from getting onto the drawing and muddying the drawing up and making it a bit more obscure. So that's why I've got the true grain over the top. You can use acetate, possibly tracing paper, anything you can get your hands on, really. That's just going to act as a kind of a see-through barrier between your screen and your reference image. It could be a reference image, you could be just doing something off the top of your head, okay? The great thing about screen printing is it's all direct. So you don't have to flip anything around, you don't have to do anything backwards or inverse it. The mark you make is the mark you'll get, okay? So for graphite transfer, what we really recommend is having pencils and graphite sticks, and you're looking for stuff that's really quite soft. So you're looking at 4-2, 4, 6, 9B, that type of thing. Okay. You can also use willow chalk as well. Can be really, really quite nice. Willow chalk. And what else can you use? There are certain types of watercolor pastels that can also transfer really well. And basically, we'll stick to the graphites because it'll be a lot simpler. Basically, you're just drawing onto the screen. Obviously, you don't want a super sharp pencil, but you want something that's nice and soft, so you're transferring graphite onto the screen. So I'm just going to outline this really quickly. You can probably just about see that I'm just making a quick outline onto the screen. Now, the great thing about this is that, especially when you've got these really fat graphite pencils, is that you can sort of do rubbings through the screen. So I've got some corrugated cardboard here. I'm going to place underneath here, and just to get some weird sort of textures and grain and stuff. So that corrugated cardboard is giving me a texture. I don't know if you can see it. It's like giving me a kind of a line type texture. You can probably see it there in the side, just to sort of mimic the kind of pinstripes in this guy's suit. You can use all sorts of things to give you a texture, including sandpaper and quite sort of coarse sandpaper. I keep on forgetting what this is called, but you can get it on Turner's website. You might be able to get it on Hobbycraft. It's kind of like a corrugated paper roll thing, like a border. It's really shimmery and shiny. But what's beautiful about it, and what's particularly good, is that it's like a half-tone dot pattern. So I'm going to stick some of this in here just so you can see the effect. Maybe I'll use it for his tie, actually. That might be quite a good thing to do. There we go. Okay. I'm going to pop in, I'm going to try some of this really coarse sandpaper. Now, this is about 100T. The thing about screens is you've got to be a little bit careful about what you're using around them. So you really don't want to put a tear in your screen, especially if you've just spent 35 quid on it. So you want to be careful with steel rulers, scalpel blades, scissors, all the rest of it. Sandpaper shouldn't be too bad, okay? It shouldn't be too bad. We're just going to go quite lightly over it. And the reason there is a particular reason why I'm using this paper is because it's giving me a lovely grain. Now, one of the things you also need is a squeegee blade. And the squeegee blade, when we use it in the workshop, is really a handle that's got a thick rubber blade on it. Now, they sell these in some of the websites for in the region of 10 to 15 pounds, depending on the size. Make sure you get one that's for the kind of type of screen mesh you have. Typically, it'll either be advertised as a textile or paper and card. And if you're using a 90T screen, it'll be paper and card. Textile, again, is 43T. So have a think about what kind of, where you want to take your screen printing. Do you want to do it on fabrics or do you want to do it on paper? Get the inks yourself and squeegee blades that are appropriate to that particular substrate. And so anything that'll give you an unusual texture is, you know, is good. Okay. Might leave it at that so we get a bit of an idea. Let me just show you what this looks like. So that's where we are at the moment. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to register it and print it. So I've already done this one up, but I'll show you briefly how you can sort of register an open screen. I'm printing on today is some, I think it's 130 gram paper, A3 paper cartridge. You can use, and it might be a good thing to use, is slightly heavier card, 200 to 300 gram. I think you can pull out of a sketchbook, you know, so you don't necessarily even need to order fancy stuff. Just be a little bit careful that it's not too textured. Again, you want to have something that's kind of fairly smooth. So what I'm doing is I'm using the pencil here and I'm marking out some lines. And I'm doing it on the screen. And when I do that, they'll come through onto this acetate that I've stuck down to the end here. And this will basically be my registration mark. I'll place my paper here. It'll give me a really good idea about where this paper will fall or where the print will fall in relation to the paper. Okay, and then once I get that sort of composed, and I think I've got an even enough strip either side, then I'll stick down some paper marks either side here. Okay, that's just a cut piece of paper that's stuck down with some masking tape, and it acts as a kind of lock, so that when I push my paper in, it sort of locks up or butts up against the edges of those pieces of paper either side here. And so it sort of helps keep that paper in place. Now, typically, when we are using a screen bed, we have a vacuum underneath, which kind of sucks air through the bed and holds your paper in place. We don't have that now. So what you will have to do is you'll have to use some masking tape just to stick down your paper to hold it down. Again, very similar to what we were doing in the monotype. I'm just getting a strip of masking tape, running it back and forth off my apron just to take the tack off it, folding it over one side to leave a little tab so that I can pull it back. And then I'm just sticking that down. That's just going to hold my paper in place. Okay, little tab, just going to fold that over like that. And then give it a couple of dabs like that. Okay, so there we go, there's the screen. Now, how do we get this onto the paper? We're going to use screen printing medium. Now, the screen printing medium we use here is called Daler Rowney. It's called System 3, made by Daler Rowney. And you can get this from most stockists. You're looking for about a litre tub, I think it's in the region of about £15. The great thing about the medium is that if you've got any acrylics at home, you can mix this with your acrylic paints to have your own color inks. So it's well worth kind of like an investment in. We're just going to use the plain medium. The plain medium prints completely clear, right? So there's no color or tint to it whatsoever. You can put colors and tints to it if you wish, but we're just going to use it plain for the moment. I'm going to scoop out a little bit onto the base of the screen there, as I would normally do. So I've got the medium, and what I'm doing is I'm just gradually dragging or flooding the ink, or the medium rather, over the drawing. Okay, like that. And I'm going to place it back down. Let's sit there for about a couple of seconds. Get behind that medium again, and then push through as if it was a screen print. Okay, so I'm pushing the medium through the screen. What happens then is, I'm going to flood that again, is that as the medium passes through the screen, it takes the graphite with it. And then you can sort of transfer, it's effectively like transferring a drawing onto paper. Okay. So just a couple of sort of technical tips. You can see I've got a bit of bleeding here. Again, that's probably because of the setup I have. The screen is quite narrow. It might have been better if I had done a landscape, or portrait rather. If I'd done a portrait, it would have been a bit better. I wouldn't have had so much bleeding. But also, this is a handmade screen mesh, so it's really loose, so it's likely to bleed a lot more. The stuff that you would buy would probably be a lot crisper, and we're going to trial some stuff on a regular screen. I'm going to take one more print with the ink that's kind of left in the, or the graphite rather, that's left in the screen. Okay, so let's pop that one to one side. Because this is registered up, now I know exactly where to place my paper in relation to the screen. I'm going to tape it down. It's important to tape the paper down. There's nothing else holding it in place. And then pop my screen in, and again, take another print and see. I do believe that one's actually come out better. Now, I have actually done like small additions using this technique. You can get anything from about 5 up to 12 pieces, you know, and there'll be slight differences between each one, way of actually producing a kind of addition of a drawing. Okay.